Well, hello and happy Tuesday because this is February 22nd of 2022. So, I guess we're probably not supposed to date these things because then we get posted and we post them and, we go forward from there. But this is Carl Roberts. I am a CEO and founder of SplitSmart. This is my show, Informed and SplitSmart. And, I'm your host. Excited to be here for our show on the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. The intention behind Split Informed and Split Smart is just to help everyone, amicable or hostile, just to more easily reach positive, equitable, and peaceful agreements in their divorce. I believe that most everyone in their right mind or not, deep down wants peace, love, and equality in their post-divorce life. And that no one person should be able to deny that from the other or their children. That's the principle upon which I founded SplitSmart, a tool that just kind of helps everyone, regardless of emotional or mental state, better stay on course for peaceful and more joyous ever after. Before solving problems, you must first find and understand their root causes. For divorce, we know that the single difference between a good and ugly divorce is simply the presence of a bad actor. Bad actors can be one or both, man or woman, lawyer or litigant. And we know that bad actors are typically good people who have gotten tripped up by their emotions, bad advice from friends, family, and or lawyers, and often a personality disorder of being a narcissist or borderline. Today, our guest is Vicky Townsend. Vicky is the co-founder of National Association for Divorce Professionals, or NADP. She has just recently moved on from that and founded her new venture, Divorce Right. Vicky, thanks so much for joining me today. Give our audience a little bit more about you and your background.
Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. Well, like you said, my name is Vicky Townsend, and I was one of the co-founders of the National Association of Divorce Professionals back in the day. And we created that company to give the professionals access to one another and also access to the education that they have around the divorce process so that we could make it a better process for the families that used them and chose them as a professional. And so I left there last December and started something that I think is going to be a game changer. It's called Divorce Right. And we are going to be going into Fortune 1000 companies and government agencies to help them with their employees that are going through the divorce process so that they can stay focused, stay on track, still stay productive in their position in their company so that the wheels kind of just stay on the bus. We just want to help them get through it in a kinder and gentler fashion. And we do that with some education and some divorce coaching and then even divorce management. So I'm really excited about that.
All right. Well, Vicky, so we've talked a lot about business, but we haven't really talked personal. So I'm assuming that you've had your own little
run in, I think you run
experience that brought you to this line of work.
It did. I did indeed. I had been through a divorce, after I had my children, and, that was painful and complicated. And we had businesses and children and assets and all of this stuff. And after I had, finished with that, a few years later, I remarried and went through another divorce. And you'd think that since I kind of had been through it before, I brought some experience to the table and I still screwed it up. And I'm a pretty smart girl. I figured, gosh, this can't be so hard. Well, let me just tell you that for anybody, you're not in your right mind when you're going through it. And it doesn't discriminate. And anybody is capable of making some really silly and stupid decisions just because their mind is not in the game. They've got so much cortisol flooding their body and helping them, make worse decisions than they otherwise would. So I wanted to have something where there were professionals that really knew the journey that I was on, and so that they could understand. All of those professionals that touch on the lives of divorcing families really need to understand more than just the transactional part. They really have to understand the storm that family's going through as they take them through it. So that's why I started the NADP, because I wanted this to be better for other families, because I knew if I messed up, and there are probably some other people that are kind of making some missteps too.
Yeah. So what do you think about my premise that it just takes one, that it takes one to make it bad?
Well, I think, it's very, very much true. I think that, I would like to think that I tried, to have a marriage that worked, but I was married to somebody that was thinking in a different way. So, I think that, yeah, it can be just one. I think that that's very true. And, to your point, narcissistic personality disorder seems to plague me and, and chases me at every opportunity I seem to have had. So
Ain't we lucky? Ain't we lucky?
yeah,
Yeah. It's just, to me, a successful divorce is like a successful marriage. It takes two, right?
it sure
And
does.
any one person can just screw it up for the other, and so it goes on that. So having kind of been in the space myself forever, one of the things I do find gratitude in, because we got to find our gratitude in this world, is to be able to deal with other people who, again, have kind of gone through the experience and now have or inspired from that experience to really try to help others. So that I'm very thankful to kind of be have these start to be developing these relationships with people like yourself, and because it is all about solving problems.
Yeah.
And it's again, we think of so God, where do you start type of thing? The society as a whole, from the movies, TVs, and everything else we see, divorce is supposed to be the bad, ugly thing. And we know, having experienced these bad, ugly things, that we don't have that it doesn't have to be that way. We know that it can be, that most all of us in our right mind want that happy or ever after. And it's just, again, trying to stay on those kind of stay on that right path to the happier ever after, just separately.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be full of misery. It can be a great life transition. And so I think that that's part of, well, give us, I get tired of talking. I don't get tired of talking about it. I need to stop talking sometimes. But, so give us a quick little snapshot of NADP and just kind of what transpired there. The success that it had in building that community. And then just briefly, and then we'll jump on over into Divorce Right.
Divorce Right came, certainly after NADP, which was great. It was designed to help connect professionals to other professionals. It's definitely a B2B organization, because, there are so many professionals. You are certainly one of those that is, a member of a team, and it can be a really large team depending upon how complicated your divorce is. You can have a football team of players on your team to help you through it, from legal issues to financial, mental health and real estate. There's just so much to untangle. So that was, the NADP side. My reason for Divorce Right was I wanted to get closer to the action, if you will, the results of the work. I wanted to feel what happened. And at the NADP, I just wasn't in that position to feel that success of what was happening. So now I've started the Divorce Right to be closer to the consumer that's going through it, and kind of help them deal with the journey that they're about to go through, and kind of keep them on the right path so that they can be thinking straight, keep their emotions straight, and keeping the damage to, their family, particularly their children, at a reasonable, level, as opposed to some of this can just be so damaging that it's long-term damage. And so we want to just kind of mitigate that and, and ameliorate the situation as best we can with coaching and management and education.
Well, kind of as I kind of put in my intro, it's so much. Again, not only so part of it is we got to protect ourselves, right? I think that a lot of us come into this situation with fear, right? And because we're fear of the unknown, fear of what we don't know, fear of the other, fear of ourselves, and fear of what our relationship's going to be with our children afterwards. What impact this will have to our relationship. So one of the fears that I think is, and I think certainly I think all those fears are justified, right? Mm-hmm. And because and part of it is so much about just being a little bit smarter in how you do things, and I really wish that the whole concept of divorce coaches were around when I started. And and not only do I wish I had one, but I wish that my ex had one. But it's that bad actor, the professional bad actors that are not in the right, that want to kind of create conflict and again, and I put this really at the foot of the feet of the lawyers, and I think there's plenty. The bulk of the population of lawyers are good people who want the best for the whole, but there's certainly a segment of lawyers who are trying to create more conflict and create more expense, create more billing hours that are unreasonable. So I love the whole divorce coaching thing, and before again I could start going down my rabbit holes. So not to go down my rabbit holes, but again, divorce coaching is just something that is really blossomed here in these last few years, and I just love the concept of it all.
I'll tell you, Carl, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was being held in contempt. I actually was in my home one afternoon, and there was a knock on my door, and I answered it, and a gentleman hands me an envelope, and he says, "You've been served." And I was served because I simply could not get through my financial affidavit. I looked at that document like it was this living, breathing dragon that was eating me every time I put pen to paper saying how much it cost me to get my grass cut, or how much I spent on pool maintenance, or any other number of things that I sprinkler pumps breaking, all of that kind of stuff just reminded me every time I put that pencil to that paper that my marriage was failing. So I couldn't get it done. But if I had had a divorce coach, I could have had, that person could have sat next to me either virtually or otherwise in person, and helped me get through it and kept my mind in the game, right? Kept me participating and moving forward. So that's why, a divorce coach would have been a game changer for me. And I think a game changer for most people. They help you think straight. They are your thinking partner. That's it.
It's an emotional support. It's a process support. It's kind of not truly, they won't say legal support, but it is a legal support, understanding the legal system. And again, it helps protect the individuals from themselves sometimes, from the other, from the professionals that can be involved in this. So there's a lot of protections that people need, and I don't understate the one that oftentimes you just kind of need help protecting people from themselves. Absolutely. Because we get emotionally tripped up and we start going down these unproductive paths that that aren't going to serve anybody well.
Absolutely.
And then you get these lawyers that say, go.
So, if I could just interject, this is, you had said it just a couple of minutes ago. We're talking about, sometimes the bad actors can be the professionals, because This is one of the few transactions where there is actually not only no financial incentive to get it finished, there's actually a financial incentive to do the exact opposite of that, which is keeping it going. That's what is wrong with this system. There is no end if nobody wants it to end. And the ones that get very, very, wealthy are the professionals that are continuing to help this storm settle down. And sometimes they are the creators of the storm. So you have to have somebody that's got, kind of has your back, maybe that sits on your shoulder when you're doing things, that says, don't go down this path. This is a rabbit hole that has no good outcome. And let's stay focused on what's really important here. And that's another great thing that a divorce coach does, is that they just keep you out of the muck and mire,
Muck and mire. Those are, polite words.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to keep this PG.
Okay. So, all right. So one of the premises of divorce right, or part of your go-to business strategy, your business model, is really calling on the corporations. You've talked before about some of the impact and why should corporations care, basically.
Right.
And so why should corporations care?
They should care because study after study after study show that the average person that's going through a divorce loses about 40% of their productivity every year for up to 5 years, Carl. That's not an insignificant number. And so if you take, a large corporation with 100,000 employees, well, 5,000 of those employees are going to get a divorce this year, right? Maybe more. I'm erring on the low side here, but of those 5,000 people, 250 of them quit. The two biggest reasons that they quit are, the first thing is that they felt unsupported and uncared for, and that they did not feel supported during their divorce through this process. So they adios. The second thing is that they're fearful of affordable housing and childcare. So if those three things could be addressed by the company, they would have less people walking out the door. But we also help them with that 40% loss in productivity, because that can be from absences for court hearings and depositions, right? And interrogatories and all of those things that someone has to not be at their place of work. But we even help them design that so that fits better. We try and steer them to processes that don't require them to show up at court. We try really hard just to keep them out of court to begin with, because we don't want judges making decisions about what should happen with your children. We believe that should be between a mother and a father, mother, father, however that works in your family. But we think that those choices are best served by you making those decisions, and not some court system that doesn't know you, doesn't know your children, and doesn't know your family. So we try and keep those absences down. We try and keep their head in the game so that they are not constantly distracted. And some of these corporations that we're talking to they make very important things. They make bombers, and they make radar equipment, and they make all of these things that a simple mistake could be catastrophic. So we want to try and reduce those errors from distractions. We want to help keep their employees more focused and more happy, because we are keeping them, we're giving them a plan. We give them a blueprint. They don't have to really worry about what the next steps are. They don't need to be concerned. They'll know what their finances are. They'll have all of the answers so that they can come to work and be a productive member of that team.
Well, very good. Well, Vicky, hey, we need to take a quick break here real quick. My name is Carl Roberts. I'm a host of the Divorce. God, wait, I just lost the name of my own show. But I'm the CEO of the Divorce Smart. Or golly, split informed and split smart. Isn't that ridiculous? I hadn't finished all my coffee yet this morning. And meanwhile, it's below zero out here in Colorado. Anyway, my guest is Vicky Townsend, founder of Divorce Right. Got that one correct? We'll take a break here for a few moments, and we'll be right back.
Oh, I look terrible for you today.
Well, we are still on there, just Vicky, so you know. And I thought so. Anyway, so I'm getting a message from CC says that something's having a problem, so we'll continue on with our. We won't take a break. We won't take a break. Okay, so we'll pick right up where we left off. And what is your why? I mean, well, I guess you kind of had touched on some of that, but what is your why of Divorce Right? Why are you doing this? Why? I mean, what do you do every day?
Yeah, I feel like there, divorce costs companies so much money every year, and yet they don't know it. It's probably the most expensive operating cost they have that they don't know about. It is like this clear, odorless gas that just kind of drifts off and leaves a company. And nobody kind of knows what it is. They know that there's a problem. So they've thrown mental health counseling at it, or they've thrown a lawyer at it. And to your point earlier, we are there for the process. We take them through that process. And I wanted to impact floor workers that are there, and they have to show up, and to the point, making these, radar bombs or all of these other incredible pieces of equipment that are so important, and they have to be on it. They have to be in the game. So I want to help them keep their wits about them, because I know what it's like to be in that fog of not having answers to this. And I just want to give as many people access to something that I didn't know was there. Divorce coaching is, to your point earlier, it is new. It is catching on, for lack of a better word. And now it's time to bring it to the corporate world, where we can impact thousands and thousands and thousands of people each and every year.
So is your kind of business model, is it more, so you're kind of selling an employee benefit to the corporations?
Exactly. It is an employee benefit. I don't know that it's going to be an EAP plan. It'll be probably different for each company that comes on board with us. It can be a VIP program for their, high potential, highly compensated workforce, or it could be something that could be across the board. It could also be something that that the company gets them started, and if they wanted to keep up with it, they can, but at least we can give them actually a framework to work with, so that they can have something that they can refer to. And that way they can just, like I say, stay on task, stay on point. They, their distractions are minimized, and their peace and joy, and they can actually be hopeful about their future, including their future with the company.
No, very good. I mean, I know when I went through mine, I kind of early on, just because my head was so, I was with a very small company, but I was devastated because of the real ugliness that was taking place in mine. And, I lost my job at the time.
Right.
And even the new ones that I got, I mean, the divorce kind of invaded those and it made it, so I unfortunately let divorce define me far more than I wanted it to, or we would have liked it to. Now I'm doing my best to help other people try to let them define divorce for themselves.
Right.
And so it's challenging. So you've talked about this 40% reduction. I mean, and you referenced the studies. I'm not familiar with the studies. Where are you getting those studies, and
Oh gosh, I did not bring them with me, but I certainly have. There's just so many out there, and if you'd like me to send you some links to those that are out there in the world, I'll be happy to do that. I don't happen to have them, right off the top of my head. But
Yeah,
there are
no worries.
so many that are out there that they just go, they verify what we've all kind of known, that this really messes you up in mentally and emotionally, and it impacts what happens in your 9 to 5 work life, right? It can't not. We can't have, back in probably my day and your day of when we were, much younger, it was, there was your personal life and there was your work life. Neither the two shall meet. But it's become an understanding now that it's impossible to have your personal life left at the door, because it comes with you wherever you are. You're married, you're divorced, you're going through divorce. All of those things stay at work with you. It does not leave because you walked through the door. So to address that as an employer, and to have a plan for them, something that supports your employees, that is, talk about creating loyalty to your employee base. Having something that supports them when they are at their absolute worst is something that I think that would be a great benefit, not only to it's not only a benefit to the employee. This is a benefit to the employer as well, because they are getting a more focused, less distracted employee that has their head together about them as they're going through the second most stressful event in someone's life, which is divorce, second only to the death of a spouse. And interestingly enough,
I put it first. I put it first.
right. Well, here's the difference, I think, Carl, is that when there is a death in the family, there is closure. With divorce,
In this time, I mean, there's a limited amount of time. There's closure, so there's healing and all that other fun
right,
stuff.
so that you can go and move on in the stages of grief. But in divorce, a lot of times there is no closure. There is no closure.
Yeah, yeah, so my heart is in it from two different sides. There's the money side. I mean, the process has got to deal with money as well as with kids. And on the kid side, I mean, that's where, again, people don't realize it. So the single difference between, and I kind of already touched on this, but the difference between contested and uncontested divorce, again, is the presence of one bad actor. And contested divorce is, in that one bad actor could be man or woman, lawyer or litigant, and and certainly one or both. And it is never about the child. Contested custody, in my mind, in most people's minds, it's never about the child. It's always about money, control, and or hatred. More polite way of saying that is emotions, but it's all about that. And if we can just step back and get a handle on our emotions and make sure what we're talking about is the children. Again, amicable people can figure this out easily enough, do figure this out easily enough every day. It's just when we get tripped up on our emotions that we start to when we start talking about custody and or child support, we approach it from a very emotional position, and those conversations are more self-centered than they are child-centered.
Right.
And the more time I can give with a kid, then the more child support I get, or the less I pay. But more importantly, for most people, it's about control. And if the more I have with the children, then I have control of the situation. I can punish him, or I can punish her. Or, I'm the better parent. They love me more, all that BS. It just infuriates me in my rabbit holes that I go down daily. But yeah, again, the sanity to this that the divorce coach can bring. And another big point I want to make is this is not just for women. Again, it is for men too. I mean, and so men, again, so oftentimes think, just man up, or I don't need help, I don't need support, I don't need therapy. We need therapy, and we need those in our corner. Men need it as much as women, if not more sometimes. But absolutely.
100%. We all. I mean, none of us come through this life for free, Carl. None of us get through it for free.
So what do you? So what do you see the customers of the divorce coach professionals? Are you seeing that as more women or more men, or is that you see it as a pretty even split?
It does tend to be more women. Women are much more open to ask for help. And for whatever reason, it seems to feel as a sign of weakness for some people. But in this instance, when you've got everything on the table, and, like even me, I had been through it before and I still screwed it up. So, don't think that this is an easy thing to go. I don't think it's going to go the way you think it's going to go. There are any number of issues that could throw you off your game like that and change everything that you thought to be true about this, including who you were married to. Sometimes you'll look at them and go, who is this person? I don't recognize this person. So there's so many things that are not designed, but that can throw you off. And that's why having somebody that's just there to be your thinking partner, just there to keep you focused and in the game, getting through it as calmly and as peacefully and as kindly and with as much dignity as humanly possible. Because these are people that you will be seeing again if you've got children together. You don't divorce your children, so just remember that. And just listen to somebody else that has an outside perspective that we've all of these divorce coaches have been there. They've either been former family law attorneys themselves, or they've been through, a system and they've been trained on how to manage this process for others. But do not hesitate. I wish I had known about divorce coaching when I had gone through it. It would have saved me from being, held in contempt of court. That's for sure.
It would save me tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
100%. 100%.
Some sanity was brought into it.
Yeah.
So you've got a first meeting with a client. What are some of the first things you're advised? How are you first kind of coaching that? What are you telling them what are the top 3 things that they need to do, in that first meeting?
Well, the first meeting, we have over 40 divorce coaches. So we want to first pick the right divorce coach for you. You may want to work with a man. You may want to work with a woman. You may need somebody that speaks another language or understands your culture that you come from. We have so many people from so many, different countries, every country in the world living here in the United States. And so many of them have just different cultures around the topic of divorce. And I'll give you some examples. You've got arranged marriages in India and China. You've got in the Philippines where divorce is illegal. So there are other cultural influences that make a difference. So you need to we want to put the right person to work for you. Also religious differences in, the Jewish get. In the Muslim community, there's a lot of different things, as well as in the Christian community as well. So religious divorces need to be handled, differently, and you have to have these experts. So we have those experts on our team. Most of our coaches are either former family law attorneys, former financial advisors that no longer want to do that process. They just want to do coaching now. and others that have expertise in other areas, including cultural and religious issues. So that's the first thing, is that we would do an intake to find out who you need and who would be the right person. Then we would go through, the different types of divorce with them. We would want to know, is this something that if it's not amicable now, can it become amicable so that we can keep you all out of court, out of the judge's chambers, where that judge will make decisions for your child that you will have to live with for the rest of their life. So we just want to make sure that you're informed. And we really and truly, our hope is that you don't go the litigated route. We'll stand with you if that's the way it goes. It's just more costly, both financially and emotionally. And not always, you don't have a lot of control over that. So we try and get you into different types of divorce, like from the collaborative perspective, or for mediation, even DIY. A lot of people think that they need to, lawyer up and do all of these things. But if you don't have children, you don't have mutual assets, it's not so hard to DIY this. I mean, if you guys are very clear about, what you want and how you're going to disconnect from each other, DIY is not a bad choice. It's just doing it for the right reasons. So, I mean, we kind of go through a lot of things. They need to kind of feel, we want to ask them, what does this look like for you? What do you want your life to look like on the day after the papers are signed? And then we want to help you get there. Right.
So, and again, I think a lot of people, again, reality is not necessarily there with perspectives at the time, or what you want and the reality that you're facing be disconnected. And there's a way to say that. I just don't have it right there. But again, I think most people want this happily ever after, and rainbows and roses. But again, how do you get there? And so how are you? And we know, nobody wants a litigated divorce. But sometimes we just fall into it, or maybe some of us do, because we think we can win there, right?
I was about to say, Carl, there are some people that want to burn the house down, and they want their spouse in there while it happens. So that there are those people, and they would rather spend their money, on their lawyers than to share it with their ex. So there's a lot of people that kind of do have, motives that are less than scrupulous. So, and also very short-sighted, because they're hurting themselves too.
So I go back to my question earlier. So you're certainly trying to counsel, but what's the one thing? I'm trying to setting you up as a straight man here. But what's the one thing you're telling your clients in your first meeting with that client? What are you telling them that they need to do?
What do they need to do?
Yep. How do they get ready?
Oh, gosh. I mean, that is certainly, that is after an intake of understanding their current situation.
How do you understand their current? Okay, well, you're not following my lead, so I'm going to take
maybe you. Maybe not.
I'm going to take you there. To me, the one thing that you should be, and you probably are in your different ways, and I'm not setting this up as well, but the one thing that everybody needs to do is start to get organized.
Oh gosh, yes. But that starts with understanding where they want to end, right? And then we take them through the steps. You're fine, and I know that I think now I understand your finances. Are you talking specifically about finances?
Well, I mean, the divorce is two things: there's money and kids.
Right.
And if you got it, it's money. If you got kids, it's kids. And so it is. I mean, so from the money side, if there's property division, got to figure out which property is. So start making that list of what your assets and debts are. And in every state requires you to do that mutual disclosures. But again, we've got all these rules, but really not much of a way to kind of enforce those rules. So that's where the problem is. But again, start to just create your list of assets and debts, and so what your picture is. So even if you're just at the early stages of doing this on your own, and you don't know how this is going to unfold, by getting yourself organized, by knowing what your property, what your marital estate is, within some question of it. You don't have to know it through detail, but you got to start having to know what that list is. So at first you got to know what you have, and then you start to figure out about what you want and how to get there. And so
Right.
you start to make more intelligent decisions without and less emotional or expensive decisions. And then on the kid side, it is about trying to figure out what life is after. How do you best set your children up to thrive? We want our children to thrive post divorce in the love and support of both parents. If that's not your goal, you get whatever's coming to you at that end of that day. But that absolutely should be your goal: is how do your children best thrive in the love and support of both parents? And so what are your schedules? What are your parenting plans? And how will you financially support the children? So starting to organize those thoughts, again, the more we put towards that and just getting organized around the financial and the family issues, the more organized we are, the more we're gonna have to get organized one way or another, regardless of how amicable or how hostile that divorce is. And if you're going down that hostile path, that absolutely will cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to that point. And
Absolutely.
the lawyers are going to be asking you for that, and you're going to be doing most of the work for them, but they'll be billing you $400 an hour to get there. And you got to get organized. And so that's what I was trying to lead you to.
Yeah. So that's something that, there's definitely a blueprint, kind of thing that kind of we take them through and give them all sorts of things for them to fill out. To your point, that financial affidavit is really, for me, it was just a horrific document, but it can be very meaningful in terms of, helping you understand where you are. But with all of those other decisions, there's assets. There's businesses. When you have businesses that have to be, those are kind of living, breathing dragons on their own, right? So, that's it. I apologize. So you have a coaching that can target on the various needs of the individuals within the corporation. I'm not exactly sure what that means, Cece. So if you can maybe explain that to yourself, explain that question to me a little bit better. But, at the end of the day, we're meeting people where they are and helping them get to where they want to go. So they can be in the middle of the worst show, show out there, but we will meet them there and help them clear the clouds away so that they can move forward in getting towards that ending that they see for themselves, right? Because ultimately, they want to be able to know what their finances are going to be. I think that that's a big fear, is what is this going to look like for me financially after this is over? And what's going to happen to my children and my businesses and my assets? And, when that is, when there's a plan in place to get you there, that makes a lot of it easier,
Miss Vicky, it's been a pleasure having you here this morning. We're going to have to start to wrap up, but please tell our audience. Some are listening and some are watching, but those who are listening, let them know how to find you.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. It is, you can email me. I'd love to speak with anybody. I'm Vicky. It's right there on the screen, Vicky, and I'm Vicky with a Y at divorceright.coach. Our website, which is coming up, hopefully it will be up in the next 2 weeks, is divorceright.coach. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that with your listeners. And I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate the work that you do, Carl. You do great work, and it's such a pivotal part of the process is their finances.
So it's so funny because I was talking with another founder the other day or last week, kind of in my same space. And, again, she started off with, my epitaph will say, and so that had me starting thinking about what will my epitaph epitaph say. And yeah, I'm very combative in this arena because I'm fighting with this. I fight with the judiciary. I fight with the system. And I've got another presentation coming up next week that I'm presenting to a larger judicial body, kind of across the different states, and I'm saying, guys, you've had this on your plate for 20, 30 years. How come you ain't solved it? Anyway, so that's a whole nother story. But Vicky, it's been a pleasure. You're always such a attractive person to chat with and to engage with. Thank you so much for your work, and I'm looking forward to your success. And we need to talk further about how we can help each other's success. And I'm Carl Roberts with how be our Split Informed and Split Smart show, and founder of SplitSmart.com. Join us on March 8th with my guest Jennifer Medwin, who is again a divorce coach and author. And we look forward to having that great conversations there. Thanks so much for joining. Vicky, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Bye for now.